So this is the dress we are going to be doing the sewing process now. So we'll start with the half length. This is our pattern from the previous tutorial. This is the front bodice with the lining. So you are going to be joining the front bodice first. Okay, we join it right side facing each other. Just match it together. This is the bustier, and then you stitch with half-inch seam allowance. Then we repeat same for the other side, and then remember it's a bustier pattern. This is our pattern from the previous tutorial. So we'll do same for the lining. So once we are through with that, we'll go to the back pattern. This is the back pattern. We are going to be sewing the dart, and then this is the inbuilt lacing. So we'll just put it together like this and close up the dart with half-inch seam allowance. We'll repeat same for the lining. And then for this inbuilt lacing, we are going to iron interface on it. I'm using a soft interface, a soft gum stay. So you can use air stay or gum stay, whichever one is your preference. So we'll place it on it and then we iron it. After that, we're going to use the lining to turn it. So here is what it looks like after joining the bustier of the front pattern. I also iron interfacing on it, so you can iron stay on it. Then you open the seam and iron, but it's always best to iron with a breast hem. We are going to be placing cups inside of it. So this is a bustier with cups. Then this is the off shoulder sleeve, 5 inches off. So the upper part will be 5.5, and then the down part can be 1 inch longer than that. So we have half inch to stitch. So I've already used the lining to turn it out. So I'm just cross checking if the measurement is okay, and then we're going to trim off any excesses. So there are some excesses after turning, so we'll just trim it off. So this you do same for the second side. So you are going to be attaching the off shoulder sleeve. So another way, you can also place the off shoulder sleeve on it like this and trim. If you are not too sure of how to trim it, just place it underneath the pattern and then you trim. So we're going to be attaching it like this with half-inch. This one will be to the back. We'll attach the other side to the back pattern. So I'm just using the pin to secure it. So we're going to do same for the other side. We are going to be using lining to turn the neckline. We've already sewn the lining like the front piece, so we are going to be stitching around the neckline and the armhole, and then we'll close up the side. So this is the back pattern. We've already sewn the dart. We are going to be using the lining to turn it. So we'll place the lining on it, right side facing each other, right side facing each other, and then we stitch. Remember, we are going to add the sleeve. After that, we're going to add the sleeve. Then after that, we'll now close up the other part. So this is how we're going to attach the sleeve like this, and then we stitch with half-inch. Then before we now use this lining to turn it and sew around the armhole, the neckline, and then the side. After which we'll turn it inside out. We'll repeat same for the other side with the lining. And then this is the inbuilt lacing part of it. We've already turned it with the lining. It's going to be inside. It's going to be inside the back pattern. So we already reduce it with some inches so that we'll be able to lace it. So it's going to be inside like this, and then the back pattern will now be over it. So this is the inbuilt lacing bar. So once you open it, then you see the lacing inside. So you're going to be creating loops. You're going to be creating loops. So you can use loops or use eyelets. And then we are going to be spacing the loops with 1 inch. We'll have 1 inch spacing in between the loops, and we're going to be having 5 loops. So I've already cut out a strip. This is 1.5 inch wide. 1.5 inch wide. We're going to fold it the way we sew bias. We'll fold it into it like this, and then we are going to stitch. After that, you are going to measure 3 inches length and cut it. We'll measure 3 inches and cut. That will be for the loops. And then we still have a longer one that we're going to use for the rope. It's very long. It's up to 16 inches or more in length. So we're going to also repeat for the other side. So we have 2 strips, one for the left and one for the right, so that we'll have a lacing. And then when we are through, we are going to stitch 1/2 inch. So I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So this is the front, this is the half length. You are almost through. This is the sleeve. I just pin it, I've not stitched it yet. Just pin it to show you what it looks like. But we have already sewed the zipper line. So this is how to attach the sleeve. So the sleeve is in place. So now we can now begin to use the lining to turn it. Just wanted to show you what it looks like before turning it with the lining. So you flip the sleeve inside like this. And then you're going to place the lining on it like this. After which you stitch with 1/2 inch. You stitch the neckline 1/2 inch. We also stitch the armhole area. And then we close up the side as well. We'll close up the side as well, the 2 sides. So we're going to be repeating same for the other side. And then for the front, we'll also flip the sleeve in as you are seeing me doing it now. Flip it in like this, and then we place the lining over it. Place the lining over it. And then we're going to sew the neckline, the armhole, and then the sides. So I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So this is it. After turning with the lining, you see it's so beautiful. So this is the front part. This is the back. So for the front, we are going to be adding the bra cup inside. Just position the bra cup, making sure that it rests under the bust, and then we're going to use the thread and needle to tack it to the main fabric. Just tack it in different points. So here is the rope for the lacing, and then this is for the loop. So you're going to be cutting 3 inches. And cut 3 inches. So just cut 3 inches, and remember we're cutting 5 for each side. That is 10 in total. So you're going to be attaching it on this open side. You just fold it, and then we'll stitch. You remove the lining out of the way first, then you place it. So let's go to the machine. So this is how to sew it. We'll not start at the very edge. We'll leave some inches for seam allowance. Then we'll stitch it. Remember to back stitch too, so that your stitch won't lose. Then remember that we are leaving a 1 inch gap before the next one. You stitch, you leave 1 inch gap before the next. So that is how you're going to continue sewing until you sew everything. So this is it. This is what it looks like. So I'm going to be repeating same for the other side. Then after stitching, we just use the lining to close up the side, and then you flip it inside out to be like this. So you can see this loop is showing now. So when you measure in between, you should have 1 inch. So this is what it looks like. So you're going to stitch, we are going to top stitch with 1/4 of an inch. So this is the loop, so that when we lace it, it will be firm. You see, when you are lacing, you are applying pressure. So you're going to stitch that part down. So here are the two. I've done the other side. So we're going to create the casing for the boning, for the plastic boning. So just measure 1/2 inch. So place one of the bone close to the lace, just to secure it down. So remember, the lace is going to be 1/2 inch wide. So I'm just using the ruler to mark it with the chalk. So just mark it as a guide. We left 1/4 of an inch at the beginning part, then before we now mark the 1/2 inch. So we've created the first one, and then we're going to leave space. You can use your discretion for that. I'm going to be having 2 bones on one side, 2 on the other side. So you can just measure what you have and then share that part into 2, or do it as you like it. So just go ahead and mark it. So this is it. This is how we're going to place the bone inside, but we will not allow it get to the end. We're going to stop 1/2 inch before the end, so you cut it. That part is the same allowance. So you trim the edge of the bone so that it will not be sharp. Mind you, are going to cut this, but I'm just trying to show you what it looks like. So this is how you're going to insert it when we are through. Remember, we'll stop 1/2 inch before the down part. We'll leave 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you just measure it and then we cut it. So I'm going to be cutting 4 of this, and then I trim the edge so that it will not be sharp. So this is how I'm going to place it. So just use it to measure the others and then cut it. Don't forget to trim the edge so that it doesn't poke out of the dress. So this part is for seam. So this is how it's going to be inside the back pattern. So you're going to be stitching the side like this. We're going to be stitching the side where we are done. And then we'll now have the front pattern over it. After that, we're going to also stitch everything to the front pattern. So this is what we have so far. We've already attached the cup. You can see it. You can see the cup very fine. We have sewn the inbuilt lacing. So this is what we have. We are going to be having a zipper. I'm going to be having a zip. That is all for the half length. So you are going to the skirt part of the dress. So this is the skirt part. We are going to I've already stitched the dart on the lining. I've sewn the dart. Then this is the main fabric. This is the front pattern of the lining. We are going to stitch the side, so just place it right side facing each other. Please match the side together and then we'll sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm stitching with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then this is the main fabric. We have already sewed the dart. So you are going to close up the side as well. So just place the back pattern on the front pattern, right side facing each other. And then you stitch the side with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'll come back to show you what it looks like when we are done with that. So here is the foam for the padding. Always mark the direction of the sewing on the foam so that you don't get confused, and also indicate the side that is the down part and the side that is the upper part. So we're going to use an interfacing to cover the foam. I'm using a soft gum stay. So I'm going to use it to wrap the foam. You just place the foam in between. When we are cutting, we already cut this out. Then we are going to use the iron to iron it. So we are going to wrap all of them with the soft interfacing. So you can use this, or you can even use an ST. So we'll wrap it and then we will iron it. So we are going to do same for all of them. So I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So this is the hip padding, and then I've stitched round it 3 times so that it can flatten the edges. Then you place it on each other. How you're going to sew it. Remember, we already have an arrow to indicate, and then we've already indicated the down part and the front part, so don't mix it up. So I'm just using the pin to hold them in place so that I can stitch it. You just go ahead and sew it the way we sew breast cup. So we use 1/2 inch seam allowance. After, we should bring it out. So it's going to look like this after stitching. See, it looks like a breast cup. So we're going to be stitching this hip part to the lining. You're going to be attaching it to the lining. So when we're sewing the lining, we reduce the measurement with 1/2 inch. The hip measurement with 1/2 inch, because we are going to be adding the part to it. And then on the main fabric, we added extra 1/2 inch to the main measurement so that it can accommodate the foam. So we are going to stitch it on the lining. We'll stitch it on the wrong side. So make sure you don't mix it up. Just check the side that is towards the back. So we are leaving 1.5 inch before we start sewing. Remember, in our drafting, we left 1.5 inch because the foam will not just start directly on the waist. We need seam allowance. So I've already marked it. We are going to stitch along that same line inside. Sew it along the side seam. So just place the pad on it, then use your pin to secure it. So make sure that the stitch at the middle of the pad correspond with the side seam of the lining. We are going to sew along the same line, and then the pad should stop 2 inches before the down part. 2 inches before the down part. So just use the pin to secure it. So I'm just trying to adjust it to make sure that it's on along the same line, the side seam line, and then use your pin to secure it. So this is what it looks like on the right side. So we're sewing along the same line. After that, we also sew along this part to the lining. We also attach this part to the line to secure it. We'll repeat same for the other side. So for the flare part, for the down part, we cut out 2 of 180, so we have 360-degree flare here. We are going to be joining the sides. So for the part they're going to attach it to the knee line, I reduce it so that it can create gathers. So sew the side seam, and then we're going to be turning the hem with a crinoline. So we attach the crinoline on the right side first. We'll not sew to the end, we'll leave some inches before we start, and then we're going to be stitching with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So that's how we're going to continue to the end. After that, we are going to flip it inside. We'll flip it inside, and then we understitch rounds. So this is what the hip padding looks like on the lining. Attach it to the lining. So just trim off any thread that you have as you walk along. So this is what it looks like. You're going to be attaching it to the main skirt. This is how it's going to be like. So we are going to be closing up the side. So to do that, we'll place the lining on the main fabric, right side facing each other. So make sure the waistline is towards the waist and the down part is towards the down part. So we'll place the lining on the main fabric, and then we stitch with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Stitch with 1/2 inch seam allowance, 1/2 inch, and then we're going to repeat same for the other side. So this is what it looks like after stitching. The next thing is to flip it inside out. So you take it to the ironing table and iron the side seam so that it can lay flat. And iron the side seam. So we're going to be attaching this to the half length. So after you are through with ironing, we'll bring it back and then we'll attach the half length to it. Make sure that you have already notched the middle so that it will match. So I'm placing it right side facing each other. Match the middle together. Use your pin to secure it. So secure with your pin, and then make sure that the dart lines where you have the dart, that the dart line of the upper part and the skirt part, that they match. So we just pin it from one end, from the middle to one end, and then from the middle to the other end. So I'm just trying to cross check that they are okay, and then we are going to also attach lining to lining. So this is what we have after pinning. We also pin the lining part to the lining. So this is what will look like. So make sure that the seam, the dart lines, that they align. The dart line of the half length and then of the skirt part. Make sure that all of them are lines. And then make sure the side seam align as well. We are stitching with 1/2 inch. So the lining part should also be to the line like this. So you can pin them together before you stitch, or after stitching then you do this part. After stitching, then you can now put the lining towards the lining and then sew with 1/2 inch as well. Sew with 1/2 inch and then we flip it inside out. So this is what we have. This is what it looks like. I've already joined the waistline together. So we are going to, you see it aligns, the dart line aligns and the side seam align. See the side seam, the dart lines, they all align. So we are going to be closing the zipper line so that we can attach the flare part. We'll use our zipper allowance. So from the down part, we'll close it with at least 3 inches. 3 inches. So the other part is, the other openings for the zip. So you can also use your zip to measure. So make sure you are using a long zip. After that, we'll attach the flare to it. So I reduce this flare part like I said before so that I can create gathers. So I'm going to gather that part and then gather the down part and then attach them together. So once I'm through, like I explained before, I'll use crinoline to turn it. So we are through. We are now going to the ruffles part. We are through with the half length, the skirt. We are through with the flare. We now go to the ruffles. So to create this ruffles, we want it to be full. We are going to be using this satin. This is satin to create the base. So we'll measure out the round body and I'm going to cut out 9 inches so that after stitching we'll have 4 inches. So I'll cut it out and then show you. So this is the organza. This is 6 yards of organza. You just fold it into 2. It's easier to cut when you fold it. So we'll fold it into 2 like this and then we cut it so that we can join it together and have a very long strip. After that, we're going to be folding it again. That's when we have the long strip. We're going to fold it to 2 again and stitch and then flip it inside out. So this is the round body after cutting it, and I added the zipper allowance to it. So on fold I have 23.5 inches. So you work with your own round body. So what I'm going to do next, this is the right side. On the wrong side, I will fold it into 2 like this, and then I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. After that, I will turn it inside out. So on fold right now I have 4.5. So after stitching I'm going to have 4 inches. Then I'm going to turn it inside out. So assuming this is it after stitching. Before I close up the side, I will turn it so that the stitch will not be at the middle, because we don't want the stitch to show. So it will then be something like this. Okay, and then you go and iron it, then close up the side and just fold it in with 1/2 inch. Then after that, I'm going to mark, after stitching we are going to be having 1 inch left for the zipper. So 1 inch, and then I'll add another ½ inch because I only want the ruffle to go into the zipper. So I'll now mark 1½ inches. So the next thing is to determine how wide, far apart you're going to make them, whether ½ inch, whether 1 inch, or whether 1½. Okay, I have 6 years of organza here. I've cut it into 2, so it's like having 12 years. So this is a lot. So I will determine how I want it. So assuming it is 1 inch, this is what you do. You just mark it like this. You take your time. This is, you don't have to rush this, so that your lines will be straight. You just take your time to mark it, assuming we are using 1 inch. So we'll have something like this. So this I'm going to continue marking until I get to the end. So I'll show you what it looks like after marking. So this is the organza that I'm working with. I've cut it into 2 and I've joined it, so I have a very long piece. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to fold into 2 and stitch the way I folded that one. I'll fold it into 2 like this, and then you are going to have a very long piece, so just take your time. You're going to fold, then you stitch it from the beginning to the end. After that, we turn it inside out. Okay, I will not advise you to iron so that the ruffles can really be full. Okay, so after bringing it out, we are going to determine how wide we want our ruffles to be. So you can do 8 inches. You just determine. You can do 8, you can do 10. So depending on how big you want the ruffle to be. So assuming this has been sewn and you want to make it 8 inches. This is where 8 inches is. So you take your time, you mark it, mark down, middle, up, so that you can have a straight line. Or you mark up and if you have a very long ruler, just mark up and down, and then you'll be able to get your straight line. If not, you mark up, middle, and down like this. So this is the first one, then you mark the second one, another 8 inches. So if you are using 10 inches apart, you also mark it like that. So this is how big 10 inches will be. Okay, so I'll check. I may have to use 10 inches for mine, so I'll check the calculation. So whatever you are using, assuming it's 8 inches, these are you are going to be marking it. After the first 8 inches, you mark the next 8 inches like this. Mark the middle. So this is time consuming as well because the organza is long, so you need to be patient. So that is how I'm going to mark it to the end. And then once you are done with that, we'll now run gather stitch. We run gathers on it, on the lines. So we take our time to run gathers on all the lines because we are going to pull the gathers for it to be like this. Is that one we are going to stitch on this one. So I'll show you what it looks like after drawing all my lines and creating the gathers. I'll create gathers. There will be gathers here on all the lines. You see, by the time we put it together, you see how full it will be like. So that is how we're going to do it to the end. Okay, so I'll come back to show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to sew it to this one. So this is Joidala Fashion Guide. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, share my videos. So this is the round body after cutting it, and I added zipper allowance to it. So on fold I have 23.5 inches. So you work with your own round body. So what I'm going to do next, This is the right side. On the wrong side, I will fold it into two like this, and then I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. After that, I will turn it inside out. So on fold right now I have 4.5. So after stitching, I'm going to have 4 inches. Then I'm going to turn it inside out. So assuming this is it after stitching. Before I close up the side, I will turn it so that the stitch will not be at the middle, because we don't want the stitch to show. So it will then be something like this. Okay, and then you go and iron it, then close up the side and just fold it in with 1/2 inch. Then after that, I'm going to mark. After stitching, we are going to be having 1 inch left for the zipper. So 1 inch, and then I'll add another 1/2 inch because I don't want the ruffle to go into the zipper. So I'll now mark 1.5 inches. So the next thing is to determine how wide, far apart you're going to make them, whether 1/2 inch, whether 1 inch, or whether 1.5. Okay, I have 6 yards of organza here. I've cut it into 2, so it's like having 12 yards. So this is a lot. So I will determine how I want it. So assuming it is 1 inch, this is what you do. You just mark it like this. You take your time. You don't have to rush this, so that your lines will be straight. You just take your time to mark it, assuming we are using 1 inch. So we'll have something like this. So these are going to continue marking until I get to the end. So I'll show you what it looks like after marking. So this is the organza that I'm working with. I've cut it into 2 and I've joined it, so I have a very long piece. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to fold into 2 and stitch the way I folded that one. I'll fold it into 2 like this, and then you are going to have a very long piece, so just take your time. You're going to fold, then you stitch it from the beginning to the end. After that, we turn it inside out. Okay, I will not advise you to iron so that the ruffles can really be full. Okay, so after bringing it out, we are going to determine how wide we want our ruffles to be. So you can do 8 inches. You just determine. You can do 8, you can do 10. So depending on how big you want the ruffle to be. So assuming this has been sewn and you want to make it 8 inches. This is where 8 inches is. So you take your time, you mark it, mark down, middle, up, so that you can have a straight line. Or you mark up and if you have a very long ruler, just mark up and down, and then you'll be able to get your straight line. If not, you mark up, middle, and down like this. So this is the first one, then you mark the second one, another 8 inches. So if you are using 10 inches apart, you also mark it like that. So this is how big 10 inches will be. Okay, so I'll check. I may have to use 10 inches for mine, so I'll check in the calculation. So whatever you are using, assuming it's 8 inches, these are you are going to be marking it. After the first 8 inches, you mark the next 8 inches like this. Mark the middle. So this is time consuming as well because the organza is long, so you need to be patient. So that is how I'm going to mark it to the end. Then once you are done with that, we now run gather stitch. We run gathers on it, on the lines. So we take our time to run gathers on all the lines, because we are going to pull the gathers for it to be like this. Is that one we are going to stitch on this one. So I will show you what it looks like after drawing all my lines and creating the gathers. I'll create gathers. There will be gathers here on all the lines. You see, by the time we put it together, you see how full it will be like. So that is how we're going to do it to the end. Okay, so I'll come back to show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to sew it to this one. So this is Joidala Fashion Guide. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, share my videos. So this is what we have after marking. So this is where we ended the seam. So I marked at 1 inch interval. By the beginning I marked 1.5. This is for zipper allowance. So then after which I mark at 1 inch interval. Then inside is also the zipper allowance. So we are going to be sewing on the lines, but before we do that, we need to work on the organza. So this is the organza. I've marked 10 inches interval. That's how I want mine. I'm working with 6 years. So I'll mark it from the beginning to the end. See how long it is. So after cutting and joining, you now have like 12 years. See. So the next thing is to sew gathers on each line. So sew gathers here, here. I'll be sewing gathers till I get to the end. So let's just do a few ones together, and then I'll show you how to pull it. So after turning let me just tell you this, after turning the organza inside out, I turn it for the stitch to be at the center. I don't want the stitch to be at the edge. I just thought I should tell you that. So you're going to be making gathers. I'm going to be using the machine to do that. So put it on the longest stitch, which is 5. So this is, just try to put this to the center. We have 14, so half of that is 7. That's what I have. So I treat all the gather stitch like that, then we'll pull on both ends. So to do that, you just take your seam ripper, bring out the thread, separate the thread, do that for this side as well, and then you pull like this. Just pull. Bearing the wideness of the satin in mind, we are going to be sewing on this line. So this requires a lot of patience and work, so you just have to be patient and take your time. So pull gently so that you don't break the thread. So this is almost like the wideness we have. Okay, so this first one is ready. And of course, when you want to stitch, you just use your hand tool. I'll show you when you're stitching to put them like this. Stitch. So once you're done with the first, you move on to the next. So that is how we're going to continue till the end. So this is the fullness. So this is what it looks like after drawing our gathers. We are going to be stitching on the line. For the beginning part, we'll fold it like this, the starting part, so that we can have a neat finishing, and then we stitch, after which we turn it and then stitch the next gathers on the next line. That will have a neat finishing. So all the gathered parts will be sewn on the line. So we are going to continue like that to the end. We'll be sewing all the gathers parts on the line. So you put it together like this and then stitch on the line. As you are stitching, you spread out the gathers to fit into the line. So all the gathers part will be sewn on the line. That is how we are going to continue until we get to the end. So here's the final look of our ruffles. See how full it is. This is Joidala fashion guide. So this is what we have so far. We are almost done. I've joined the half length to the skirts, and then we have joined the flare part. So I recut the down of the flare so that I can have a little gathers, and then I join to complete the length. Then I've used crinoline to turn the down. So this is the ruffles. So the extra part into the zipper line. Okay, so that we can have our zip here. Leave ½ inch. Do same for the other side, and then we'll sew our zipper. We'll sew the zipper. So this is our dress, our off-shoulder bustier ruffles dress with hip padding. This is Joidala fashion guide. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, share my videos. Until next time when I come your way again, it's bye for now.